I received a message that you can hear and also can view the webinar. So I'll get it started now. SOA for synchronization and data services. This first page, we are in the first slide of this webinar. In this slide, you are seeing that we have two databases on the left. There's a multiplexer, there are two services, and that connects to the internet. Now, this is the general idea of a data service. What is a data service? A data service actually lets a client, which is this one, access to any kind of data that any company is providing. So we have two companies here. Company 1 and Company 2 wants to share their data into the cloud using some services. Now, that company can actually use one of their own data services, or they can use a third-party data service. Now, data service is a web service, which is this, and there is a control service. So how does it work? So there are so many data out there. There must be a way to actually select the data you want, and that's the control service. The client connects to this service and actually tells the control service, okay, give me data of company number 1, and it goes to the data multiplexer, which is this. And this control service selects this company 1 data and feeds it into the data service, and the client then gets the company 1 data. When the client says, okay, give me company 2 data, the multiplexer selects company 2, and the data passes through to the client in this way. That's the basic idea of a data service. So let's go on. I'm receiving some feedback here that some people are unable to hear properly. I'd just like to make sure that if you can all hear properly, let me make some adjustment here. So we are in the first slide now. We're going to move on to the second slide. What is a data service? A data service exposes heterogeneous data over standard-based service-oriented architecture. Like I said in the previous slide, we have heterogeneous data here, which are these heterogeneous sources. We don't know actually what database they are using. All we are concerned is that they are connectable database using some kind of driver. They provide some kind of driver, usually JDBC driver. This data service actually connects to these databases using JDBC. And that's the basic idea, is that data is over there, and one can get any kind of data by using a service and selecting the data. They can also manipulate the data. In this diagram, in the previous slide, we see that the data is read-only. This arrow is going this way on the right. Now the client can actually, through the data service, can write and change the data if the client have the permission to do that. Provide uniform API for any data. So as you can see, that is the client only connect to a single data service and a single control service. So this API is a uniform API. It doesn't actually change for any particular data. So it uses the same API for any kind of data. Connection and data level security. Now, as you know, that the data belongs to a company, and the client is trying to access the data through a connection, which are these are two connections. So why would company 2 want to give connection to a client? Isn't that security breach? Well, the company 2 and company 1 doesn't give any connection information to the client. The connection information is never known by the client. The username, password, URL, database name, all these information can never be known by the client. And that kind of security a data service provides. Manipulate data for privileged. We have a duplicate line there to edit that. What is a synchronization service? Now, a data service deals with reading and writing data. A synchronization service actually provides the writing and reading data, but it also synchronizes data. So if a client wants to actually get data of database 1 and wants to synchronize one of their own database, which is DB, so what it does is that it selects, it goes through this path and into the client and synchronize their database with this one. So what synchronization service does is it periodically synchronizes the company 1 database to a client's database. Similarly, if the client chooses database 2, the database data from client 2 will actually come and synchronize data on client. So that's a synchronization service. Now it can be bidirectional. If the client chooses to do that bidirectionally and company allows that connection to have bidirectional support, then the synchronization can also be done bidirectionally. And we are going to see some details on this. Let's go into data service details, how Soalib and SOA Sync actually deals with the synchronized data service. As I said in the first slide, we saw that we have two companies. The two companies actually provides two connectivity information through a service, and a client actually is able to connect to company 1 or company 2 databases. Now here you see that we have a company 1, and there is an arrow like a mapper. We call it mapper. Now a mapper is required when somebody shares the data, because a database can compose of hundreds of tables and hundreds, maybe dozens of columns per table. Now which column and which table are we going to expose to the client, to a specific client, for example? That's what the mapper is for. Mapper actually limits the user and also limits the number of columns that somebody is going to see when they are sharing the data. And this circle here with the cross is the connectivity. Now this actually shows that this connection is read-only. And there are two, for each database there is a mapper and there is a connectivity information. After this connectivity, this connectivity actually allows data to go into the data service. So when there is a connection, when the mapper is mapped, then the path is created from the database to the data service, which a client here in the cloud can actually now access the data. Similarly, this one. Now there are two more services here, which is the M for mapper service and C for connectivity service. What mapper service does is create the mapper. Now company 1 will create the mapper for them. It's not the mapper that the client will create. The company 1 will create the mapper and provide it there. Company 2 will create its own mapper and provide it there in the connectivity. And also company 1 will provide the connectivity to the database as read-only. And company 2 will also provide the data into the database into the service as read-only. So company 2 is providing these two information. Company 1 is also providing these two information. These are not provided by the client. So company 1 will go into the connectivity service and the mapper service and program their service to have the mapper and the connectivity information. So once the connectivity information is set, a client can now log into the service and actually using these data services can actually see the connection, can actually see the database. This one is a synchronization service, which I actually discussed in previous slide. Synchronization service is similar to a data service, but now we have a synchronization operation instead of just data read operation. A synchronization can be bidirectional. So if a company 1 would like to actually share their data with company 2, and they also agree that their database should be periodically synchronized, then these services, they can use these services to actually synchronize this data over this way. So there isn't much difference. The data services are same, but synchronization is much more involved. It have much more security in it, because when you synchronize the database, you do not want that somebody else's database to be corrupted or deleted. With Soalib, it never deletes any row. There is a protection built into it that no rows are deleted by anybody. To delete a row of a third party, it have to go through a separate API. We have Soalib have a separate API for delete operation. It never can be deleted from a service. Now, what is SOA Sync? SOA Sync is a SOA-based synchronization and data service. This service enables bidirectional synchronization, heterogeneous database access. As I see, I've shown that company 1 can have one database, company 2 can have another database. There are 25 different databases that the SOA Sync can support, including flat files, binary files, Access, which is file-based database, Fox-based. All of these are actually supported by SOA Sync. Now, mapper-based, as I've shown you, that a mapper is a control mechanism to actually limit the user's privilege to actually access the data. So it actually maps the table and columns to another database's table and column to limit the operation. Incremental change capture, the changes that is has to be synchronized, is built into SOA Sync, so it can detect the change, what has been added since the last change, and it will actually detect the change and only synchronize the changed rows. As far as security is concerned, there is a transport level security, which is like HTTPS. Data level security is also there, which is W security based, and also we have tunnels. We have secure tunnels with RSA. There is a connection level security. As I said, that there is a connections can be made read only, write only. So if a company 1 wants their database only to be read only, never to be written, then they can provide that connection level security over there. A connection level security hides the username, password, database name, and everything. Fairly everything can be hidden from the client. So client will never know what is the database name, what is the password, what are the table names. They can never know that. And access, a table name can be known, but it will never know what is the database name. Access level privilege is limiting access to particular clients. The clients can, some clients can see the database's name, and it's based on the client what kind of information can be provided. So if a client named John is a privileged user of the database, when he logs in, he can see the database names and the username and all that. And if, like say, David, who is not a privileged user, will never see any of those. So these are access level security. Mapping can be done one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, and many-to-many. Set operation can be, multiple databases can be unionized, and they have to be, like, it doesn't have to be exactly the same database, can be different database. Like for example, I can unionize source database as MySQL, target database, source database MySQL, and there's also a source, another source database like Oracle. I can unionize to, like for example, target database, which is DB2. So we have two separate different vendor database to another third vendor database, merging, unionizing, or intersecting. Intersection means finding the common rows or columns in two shared databases. Mixing means that I can add some of my own data when I receive the data from the databases. So I can, for example, if I get a number from a database and I want to compute some equation on that, that can be used during mixing operation. The services, sourcing services, are SOA based web services, so it is standards based and can be used by many other API. Like I said, we have API for C, C++, Java Mobile Edition, and also definitely Java. And there is a support for 25 flat files, 25 databases including flat files and binary file support. Now, why are we doing the data and synchronization services? Applications today want something to do with the internet. We call it cloud. Now, if you are designing application, writing your own application, that also are service, then you probably want to instead of writing your own synchronization software or data services, you can use one of the available data services, well, like for example SOA Sync, and put it in your software. Or you don't even have to purchase the software. You can actually use the services that is running at soalib.com and use that service in your own program. So it's basically exposing heterogeneous data as service that cloud-based applications share the data. So you can just use SOA Sync to expose some of your data to the service, or enabling heterogeneous synchronization over the cloud, keeping all data consistent up to date. So if your application wants to synchronize data too, there are API out there for SOA Sync which can be used in your own application without you writing the synchronization part of the software. Now SOA Sync is a very powerful synchronization software. Enable synchronization feature in your cloud application. As I say, that you can use SOA Sync application API to do the expose your own heterogeneity over the cloud. Well, that gives a short overview. I think it's a good time to start the demo of what really is SOA Sync about. So let's look at the demo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start SOA Sync now. You can see a dialog popping up shortly. So there is a SOA Sync. It's running SOA Sync and it's loading the Eclipse-based client. This is the Eclipse-based client, which is I'm going to maximize that. That's what you get when you first install the software. Now there has to be services running. Service this is the URL you can see in this one here, this area. This is the service URL, and this means that there are some services running already. Now I have installed these services already in our server. This is our server here. So I'm going to bind that service. The binding operation is this. So I can see now it's binding here. You can see it's in this it's already bound now, and I'm going to now connect to the service using login operation. I have an account here, so let's enter that. System is a system account in Soalib. So I have just entered the username and password, and it logged me in. Now on the right side you can see there is a small vertical window here, which is, we call it view, and there are like 5 connections here. See 5 connections here. Similarly on the target you will see the same thing. So let's go into the target area, and you see we have the same thing that we have in the source. This area on the left bottom part is a view, SOA Sync view. You can navigate different part of SOA Sync using this area here. There is a general purpose toolbar. Now let's try to actually open a connection. I'm going to open Derby connection here. These are connections that has been actually created for this demo, this webinar. Expanding this connection actually provides you the information of host name and port number and username, database name. Here database name on this one here, and there is also HSQL information which we can actually use. Now one of the connection level security that I was talking about, that connection level security can be connection information can be hidden. Now notice that HSQL is showing host name, port number, and the username also, and source database name. Now in the connection level, when I set the connection level to active, now here in this one, you see this HSQLDB dash protected is the same connection as this one. But when I expand that one, look what you see here. You're saying HSQLDB hostname, port is not displayed, username is not displayed, instance is some information that doesn't make sense, but that's good. You don't want people to know what it is. So it's actually putting some information that is not true about the connection, because we have added a connection level security, but is this connection and this connection is the same connection. So as I connect now, I will press this arrow, green arrow, and you'll notice that there is a connection here. It's displaying what tables on the left side. You're saying that what tables are there in that table, in that database. Now let's also open a Oracle. Let's connect to Oracle here as source. So I'll click on that, and Oracle is connected here. You can see on the left side. I will expand that. So these are the tables in Oracle, and these are the table in HSQL. These are the table on Oracle. On the target, I don't see anything. So let's go to the target and also connect like a Derby and then HSQL also, and then Oracle too. So we have 3 database connections on the target, and source connection have 2 databases. As you can see that these databases, you can actually browse deeper and deeper and find actually what the column is created with. Like this column is a car type 3 primary key, not null, and it's indexed. So that's the kind of detail you can get into when you go into these source and target databases. Now you can see there is a different part of the menu here. It's administration, and there is a connection information. That's where you can actually create new connection. Here, for example, this one, using this dialog box, I have actually created the connection. I saw so that using this dialog box, I have created the connections. Like each of these connections I've created with this dialog box. I'm not going to create a connection because that will require that won't be required because I've already created these connections for you. Now here, notice that there is a part here actually shows nothing. This is the part that actually you have to enter in when you are creating a protected connection. So let's look at it again. See this one, this dialog box is the same as this one, information here, and what's happening here, HSQL protected. What you see here is going to go here, and whatever is here is going to be used when the connection is created, but whatever you put in this one is going to be displayed. So in hostnames, for example, so hostname here, it should be written here, but the real hostname should be put here. So that's how it brings a connection security. What you're doing is that you're creating an alias here for that. So that's the connection level security. Let's go into mapper. We're going to create a new mapper here and do some synchronization. Now this one, in this view, you can see that there is a source databases. There are two source databases which relates to the two source databases we have here. So we have these two, and these two are same. And this corresponds to the target database which we have on the second tab. So it's our target database and these target databases. And now let's do some very simple synchronization. Let's synchronize, for example, we have Oracle here. Let's try to select an Oracle and then country table, and let's synchronize with, for example, Derby. Now I have to see what kind of data is already there in the country table. So to see the data, there is a query editor, which is now we are going to the data services. So we are now in data service. We are going to use query the database, select star from country. Now this one is this table is already there. I created that for this demo, so this table is already there. Now I'm going to synchronize with another table, country 1 in target database Derby. So let's see what database is there in Derby. So I'm going to create another data service and query select star from country in Derby. Now this is in Derby, and there is no rows in this table. So these are I'm going to now start the synchronization operation that based on mapper. So we will see some data coming from Oracle to Derby. So I'm going to just map it. So I'm just dragging it and dropping it. Now you see in the bottom part, the two are actually now mapped. I'm going to save it, and then here's a mapper, and then save it. Before I save it, I have to actually make sure that they are connected. I'll save it. It's asking for a mapper name, so let's call it like a webinar 2. Well, this is a second webinar, that's why I'm going to put webinar 2. So it's saved. Now let's do some synchronization based on what the mapper we created. In SOA Sync, we have to provide an instance. So let's webinar. Webinar is the instance name, and then we have webinar 2. And here's the one of the things that it's actually synchronizing source data connection is source DB Oracle is that's not what we want. So we have to go actually connection, select the connection that we want, which is the source database, and the connection for the target database we have to choose the Derby. So now we can synchronize. You can see in this source database is Oracle and Derby is selected. So let's put webinar, and webinar 2 is already selected. So I'm going to begin sync and change the rows. It's already synced, so it's already done. Let's go to the query back and say this query window is already there. Like execute, and let's see what happened. So you see the database already synced it. This is the Oracle side, and this is the Derby side. It's already synchronized. So that's a very simple synchronization. Let's go on to the schedule. Now I want to make it periodic. So if I actually enter some data here at any time, I want it to be in the Derby like every minute. That can be done by creating a schedule. Now here in the schedule part, it actually goes all the way to, for example, in the seconds level. In delay, I can put a second, so I can actually synchronize every second. Now what happens if the synchronization is not done within a second? What it will happen is that it will actually skip that synchronization, and actually when the next second appears, it will synchronize then. So if a synchronization takes 7 seconds, then the other synchronization attempts, like the 6 other synchronization attempts within the 7 seconds, will be ignored. And on the 8th second, it will start synchronization again. So that's the scheduling part. Let's go over one of the important part of synchronization is the options part. And this is one of the important part of SOA Sync that provides you a pretty good control of a lot of things. Let's say that you want it real time. This is actually not presently available in the version because we are working on the real-time synchronization version. In this one, auto commit, and the auto commit is that if you want things to be automatically committed, some databases allow auto commit and also auto no commit. If you set auto commit, then it can be used as a transaction until you commit it yourself. This one is locking. During synchronization, systems can be locked. The target table can be source database and target table can be locked, so nobody can access the table and put some data there and during the time it is actually synchronized in that particular table. It does a table level locking. Snapshot mode is used only to those databases that have a snapshot mode, like for example Microsoft SQL Server have a snapshot mode. If the database have a snapshot mode, then it will probably apply for that database, and also try to simulate the snapshot mode if it can be done. Then these are the two fault tolerance area. Retry mode is a retry. If there is a failure for some reason, it will try to retry the synchronization again. If that retry also fails, then it will do a rollback. On these parts, like a create table area, the table can be actually created if the target doesn't have the source table. And if you select these options, these two options, then it will actually create the table for you. You do not have to manually create the table. And here in this one, he said create none. So it doesn't have to create the table. If it's not found, and then that synchronization part will be ignored. Now this one says what is bidirectional, if I want to bidirectional synchronization or unidirectional synchronization. When talking about bidirectional synchronization, notice that, let's go back on this slide, on this again. Here, see, we have this is the Derby and this is the Oracle. Now if I enter some rows in Oracle, it will be synchronized to Derby, and if I add some rows in Derby, it will be synchronized with Oracle. So that's the bidirectional synchronization. You can see that when we have a bidirectional. Let's go to the options to finish that. Now these are the delta synchronization, which is incremental synchronization, and this one is a full synchronization without the incremental engine running. These are something specific to a database. You don't need to actually change these. These are okay values. Now when I will discuss about tunneling, I will come to this part, and the mixer part is also going to be discussed later. Let's discuss about the security part. In SOA Sync, we can do tunnels. We can create arbitrary number of tunnels so multiple databases can be actually connected through a tunnel. Let's discuss about what really is tunnel. A tunnel is creating a connection between databases or database SOA Sync if the connectivity is not secure. So we have a database here, for example, Oracle. Now Oracle uses 1547 port, 1527, which is not secure. And we have SOA Sync here. Now if this is internet here, if it connects directly to this port from the internet, this connection is not secure. So what SOA Sync have is a tunneler here, which is actually a tunnel, and this is a secure tunnel. This secure tunnel actually sits on the Oracle server side, of the server, and what it does is it actually connects to this one, and there is a secure port exposed here, so which is secure port, and SOA Sync will actually connect to the secure port. So what is happening? This direct connection to 1527 port is actually now blocked. It actually connects to the secure port, and that's why this synchronization, any kind of synchronization that is done over the internet, actually are secure, and that is provided already in SOA Sync. And to actually use that feature, one have to create a certificate. So this is a certification creation dialog, where I will be able to create a certificate on my own by providing a name of the security, and then these are the information that we need to create the tunnel. And as you know, you probably have created certificates in the past. You have to provide these CA identification information so you can create the certificates as a valid X509 compliance certificate. X509 is a certification standard for sharing certificates across various industries. So once you create the certificate, it will be registered into the SOA Sync, which I will not go over in this short 1-hour webinar. But there is going to be there are a lot of demos out there in the website which actually shows you how to actually register the certificate with SOA Sync. But here in this here you can see that once the certificate is registered, you can set the tunnel, start the tunnel, stop the tunnel, enable or disable the tunnel, which are all based on the certificate. This one shows you to generate a report. If you can, let's show you a report from HSQL, for example. So let's do some report here. So this actually shows you a report, what databases are, what are the primary key databases in the entire database. It's a report of the entire database, all the tables in the. For example, if I go to Oracle, I can see the same thing here. So this is the entire database report information in the Oracle database. We have all these tabs, and can be also be displayed as PDF files. So if I want a report as a PDF, so let's the report one. Let's report a webinar, and then I'll want a database report of Oracle, for example. I'll just let's see if it creates a report. It created a PDF report, so you can browse the PDF from here, and it's just a simple PDF file, which actually you can save and print. So that covers the reporting part. PDF, you can zoom in, zoom out. SOA Sync comes with a built-in server which can be used to deploy the WAR file. You see this part here is the service information that is actually running against the server. Now that server can be this one. You can actually deploy the server here and then bind it using the service here. We have a couple of questions here. Let's try to answer the question. One of the question is this synchronization could be reused to send the sync info to other services? Well, I didn't quite understand the question. Can you explain that question? This synchronization could be reused to send the sync information to other services. It's not really clear to me. I try to understand. I think what you're trying to say is if this synchronization information can be called from the service. Yes. Once you create the mapper, you can periodically call the synchronization from your own client, which you can write using the various API we provide, which from your own application as well. And there's an administration menu with which you can create users. And let's create a simple user here. Let's say webinar 1. I have to actually provide a username that have a valid email address because it validates the email address. Otherwise, it will not work. So, for example, Soalib at soalib.com, and I'm going to create it as a basic user. Okay, I have explanation of the question. Let's see. I mean that the info that was moving from one side to the other could be used to send the other service. Okay, yes. The information that is moving from one, no, that cannot be provided because if that is provided, then that's a security breach. What you can do is that you can always read the information from the database tables, and then you can yourself provide any kind of data manipulation. You can do it yourself. So that's a no for Carlos. That's a no. You cannot provide no intermediate data access can be actually provided because, as I said in this diagram, it goes when it's tunneling, it passes through the tunnel. So this is a very highly secure area, and any data that is passing through the tunnel cannot be provided into the service. But anytime you can actually query what is actually being synced. Now let's create this user. There are no errors, so the user is created. Let's see if the user is created. Now I will go to the admin menu, and when I go to admin menu, I can see what users are there. And here you can see that you can do a number of things here. So you see this user is created, and there are a number of services. These services are available on SOA Sync, and these services allows you to actually keep more control. For example, the user I have created, if you want this user to enable use database synchronization service, then it will be able to use data synchronization service, mapper service, mixer service. So basically you are actually limiting the user from different services. This user cannot use all the services. It can use only the services that you want. And in this menu, so there are detailed documents on various things that you want to learn from this this webinar. All of those information are also in the website, and so you can change the username, change the password, and whatever you see here is actually in here. Now another thing that I would like to go over is the batch synchronization. As you saw, that I have created a synchronization from Oracle to Derby. Now I have probably could have set another synchronization from HSQL to Derby. As I said, we are doing unionization, data unions. So in the demo, in our first demo, I synchronized Oracle to Derby. In the next synchronization, I want to use MySQL to Derby as well. Now here I have actually manually selected and then synchronized. Here I have to go and manually select and synchronize. This is a manual operation. I can actually do the two synchronization as a batch, and that will cause a unionization. So that's a data union. And that's how union is done using batching in SOA Sync. So it's basically union is just a batch operation. And how do I do the intersection then? To do the intersection, and there is a intersection mode here, which you can use to during synchronization. Now here, this is the batch mode. I can actually create a batch. Just create a batch name here, and when you create a batch, like a webinar batch, and once the batch is there, you can add the mapper. So I want to add mapper into webinar 1. So I want to add mapper webinar 2. Target is Oracle, and then there'll be adding the mapper. One of the interesting thing about SOA Sync is that SOA Sync does not have any relationship of the mapper to the database. So the mapper is totally independent. As you can see here in this diagram, in start synchronization, the mapper is a separate thing. So there are other mappers I have already created. I can just choose any mapper. When we create mapper, it has no relations to the database. Here you can see that I have a source connection of Oracle Source DB, and the target is Derby. I can go here and select source as HSQL and target as Oracle, and then go to synchronization again. Now you see HSQL is the source and Oracle is the target, and you see the mapper is the same. So the way we have totally isolated the mapper portion from the connectivity portion is for you to apply that same mapper to any database. Now that is a very flexible, makes your entire programming very flexible. All you have to do is create the mapper just once, and then you use that mapper once again and again and again, anytime. So that's basically what SOA Sync is about. And there's a window, there's a query analyzer, and also there's a file system that you can browse. In SOA Sync, there is a file API, file service also, which you can transfer. For example, this is the PC part. This on the left side. On the left side, you are seeing in this here. This is the PC that I'm using now, and this is the server, which is a SOA Sync. So I can transfer any files there if I like. So basically, it will just copy those files, and you can actually retrieve those files at any time. It's a file. It's a big file. It's taking about some time. I shouldn't have copied that one. Well, it's copied now. So, and I can also delete that file from there. So delete is this one. So basically, this is which you can use from your remote system to back up the your own important data that you want. So what we use the file service for is sometimes you want to actually copy, like Access, for example. Access database is a file-based database. Access to synchronize Access database, you have to put that in your PC. Now, not all Access database is in your PC. You can go to another PC and the Access database is not there. So what you can do is that you can store that Access database to the service, and then when you go to another PC, you can get that Access database from that service into the new PC. So that's why we have those 5 services out there. So this basically covers a very short overview of what SOA Sync can do. And let's go back to our slides again and discuss about what else that you can do in your programming. The SOA Sync is a programmable, client programmable service. So the API for the service is actually the Soalib API. You can just go ahead and download the Soalib API and start using that, and in your own synchronization and data services. And we have a couple of questions here. For example, take statistics about sync. Okay, Carlos, statistics of syncs can be done. Let me show you that how the statistics of the synchronization can be retrieved. When a sync is running, I can go ahead, and this is the log, and you can get the log file from the server at any time. I can see the log file. So, like for example, get history. I want to see the history of instance 1. Instance 1, we never ran that, so let's see. So that gives me the history of instance 1 here. So you see history of instance 1. And similarly, I can actually get status information. So I can get status of the webinar instance, and it will give me the status. Okay, one more thing is that once the instance is running, it keeps on running. I have to destroy that instance. So here I have to destroy this, and it will then have the instance ready. Now, when does the instance destroy itself? There is a mode that actually checks if the instance is doing anything. If the instance is inactive for a long time, then SOA Sync will destroy that instance itself. That's pretty much what we have for this webinar. It's the short 1 hour webinar. We almost close to 1 hour. If you have any questions, let me know. If you do not have question, we can go to this website and download the SOA Sync program yourself and try it yourself. And yeah, you can write your own API using that. And if you have any question, let me know. I will have about 1 minute left here. Okay. So let's go back to the slides and wrap it up. There are a number of webinars that's coming up. You can go to soalib.com. One of the webinars coming on the 18th, which you can sign up, which is about a web service. What is a web service? What is it about? What is service-oriented architecture? And there are two more other courses also two other webinars also coming out this month. There are going to be new webinar coming out also in July, which will be announced. And just would like to know if you have any questions. If you do not have any question, just like to thank you for coming here and joining the webinar. And these are the information that we have. If you have any question about this webinar or how to improve it, your feedback, and if you want to see the video of this recording and also the slides, it's going to be available online. You can go to the site soalib.com and then register. Once you log in, you will be able to see the video and the slides for this webinar, and also you can see other slides, other webinar also, and also courses. If you are interested, you can also view those too. Thank you for joining this webinar, and have a nice holiday. Thank you.